it's going to cover return values. Before we begin, make sure you have Java and the Java JDK downloaded on your computer. You can run java-version in your terminal to check. Also make sure that you have IntelliJ downloaded on your computer. It's suggested that you watch the previous Java tutorials in this same playlist. So some vocab. Return means to send out a value as a result of a method. Up until this point, we've been writing void methods, which means that they don't return any information. Return type is the type that's being returned from a method, and a return value is the value that got returned from a method. The purpose of return values. Return values are used to give information back to the caller so that the methods can be used for things like calculations instead of just printing. Creating a method with a return value. So here we have public static, and normally where we had void before, we have a type. So int, double, boolean, char, and then a method name 1, right? And here we can return a calculated value type. So I have type x, and then at the bottom I do some calculation and assignment of x, and then I return x at the bottom. And that's one way to create a method with a return. And the other way is to return an explicit value. So in this case, I could return 4 if my type of method to name was int. Okay. So calling a method with a return type. Here we have type x equals method name 1. So method name 1 doesn't have any parameters because it's just an open and close parentheses, but it does have a return type, and I want to save that off every time I call it. And the way that I do that is with this syntax, type x equals or type y equals for method name 2. And these can be either the same or different types, but they have to match the type that method name 1 and method name 2 were created with. So some common mistakes, or a common mistake. You have to store the return value from the method in a variable or it won't be able to be used later. Or if you just want to print the return value, you can just use the method directly inside of a println. It'll call the method first, get the return value, and then use it in the println statement. Can I overload methods with return values? No. Method overloading only works with parameters. If you try to create different methods with the same name, the same parameters, but different return values, you'll get a compile error, and that's because whenever you try to call the methods, the compiler can't tell which one you mean just by the different return types. So some return value practice. Let me get the split screen. Oops. Let me do it. Okay. Present. Double click to get back my left pane. Okay. So I'm going to say right click, new Java class, and I'm going to call this return values. Double click to make the left pane go away. And now I have public static void main string args. Okay. So I want to create 3 different methods, and these methods require parameters and return values. So keep that in mind as you're creating them. I'm going to go ahead and define my 3 different methods so I know what I'm looking at. First I want to return the parameter of a square, and that's going to return an integer. So I have public static int get square parameter, and it's going to take in an int side length. And I'm getting an error here, you can tell by this red bar, and the error is that I'm missing a return statement, which I'm just going to keep missing it for now so I can define my other methods. So the next one is to return the area of a rectangle as a double. So I'm going to have public static double get area of rectangle. And I'm going to take in a double height, and can't spell height, and a double width. And again, I have an error saying I'm missing a return statement, and I'll come back to that. And the third method is to return the average of 3 numbers as a double. So public static double get average. And again, just like in the previous parameters tutorial, it's going to be double 1, double 2, double 3. And I'm using doubles for the parameters because I don't want to be doing integer division. Okay, so now I can start doing the returns for my 3 different methods. So to get the perimeter of a square, you just multiply the side lengths by 4. So I'm going to do the case where I create a variable and then return that variable. So I'm going to have an int perimeter, pretty sure I'm spelling that right, equals side length times 4. And then I'm going to return the perimeter. Okay, so that one's taken care of. And it's gray here because I'm not ever using it. And it's telling me that I'm not ever using it. Okay, so now I need to get the area of a rectangle, which is just width times height. And I'm going to do that by simply returning the answer. So I'm going to say return height times width. Okay, great. And for average, I'm going to go ahead again and store the average in a variable and then return it. So int average equals 1 plus 2 plus 3 divided by 3. And then I'm going to return average. Oh, not an int, double average. Oops, double, okay. So this pattern is a way for you to declare a variable and then assign it a value. It's just another pattern of using variables. Okay, so now I want to call my 3 different methods inside my main so that they actually get used. So I have get square perimeter, and I'm going to say that it's 4, is the side length. And again, this isn't something that I'm printing, it's something that IntelliJ is doing automatically whenever I give it a explicit value for a parameter. Get area of rectangle, let's say it's 4 by 5. And then get average. And this is going to be 1, 2, 3, because the math is easy. Okay, so I still have parameters in this box, so if I hit the green triangle, it'll run my parameters code, which isn't what I want. I want to run my return values code. So I'm going to go up here and do run, run. And now I'm going to click on return values, and that's the code that it's running. Okay. So I made the common mistake here of A, not saving off the return values from my different methods, and B, I didn't actually print anything, so I can't tell what's going on with my with my Java program. So first thing I'm going to do is say int parameter equals. So now I've saved off the value of get square perimeter. And now I can print it. System.out.println parameter plus parameter. Okay. So now I want to print the area of my rectangle, and I'm going to show you how to do it just directly inside a print statement. So that's going to be system.out.println area of rectangle plus. Okay, great. So now it will call get area of rectangle, put that value inside my print statement, and then run my print statement. So I'm going to save off average, just like I saved off perimeter. And I'm going to print average. System.out.println average. Okay, so now, because return values is in this dropdown, when I hit the green triangle, it will actually run my code and print things because I told it to print things now. So I have my perimeter of 16, my area of a rectangle, and my average. And again, the area of the rectangle and average have 0.0 after them to denote that they're doubles. And that's it. I hope that was helpful.